legs. On the night of October 2nd, 1996, 300 police officers raided the house of known gang members in Compton. The mass raids were part of a crackdown to try and bring an end to the war in Compton, but it also gave Compton police the opportunity to arrest Orlando Anderson.
On October 2nd, the Compton Police Department, assisted by 9 federal, state, and local law enforcement agencies, staged 31 raids in 37 locations where gang members were living in the cities of Compton, Minnesota, Long Beach, Paramount, and Lakeville.
Anderson was arrested during the raids, not for the murder of Tupac, but for an incident earlier the same year that resulted in the death of a man at a party. After Orlando was arrested, Las Vegas detectives and the Compton police questioned him about the Tupac murder, but neither law enforcement agencies were able to turn the circumstantial evidence into something that would make a case, and Anderson was released. During this same time, Suge Knight was going to court for a probation violation for his involvement in the MGM fight and was facing 10 years in prison if convicted. Knight's attorneys reached out to Orlando Anderson, offering him $60,000 to testify on behalf of Suge Knight. Anderson agreed and testified on the stand that Suge Knight was not one of the men that jumped him and was instead trying to stop everyone from fighting. However, even with Anderson's testimony, Suge Knight was still found guilty and sentenced to 9 years in prison. That same year, Anderson filed a lawsuit against Tupac Shakur's estate for compensation for the injuries that he said he received from Tupac during the MGM Las Vegas brawl. By 1998, 2 years after Tupac's death, many people, including Anderson, thought someone might kill him in a revenge attack for Tupac, but it didn't happen. Anderson was quoted as saying in an interview, "I'm not going to worry about it. I can't spend the rest of my life worrying about Tupac." But the rest of Anderson's life would be cut short when just a few months later he was killed in an incident completely unrelated to Tupac's death. It was May 29, 1998, and Anderson's 85-year-old grandmother had just passed away. As members of his family gathered at home, Anderson and a friend went to grab some food. Driving a Chevy Blazer, Anderson pulled into the parking lot of Mom's Burgers in Compton, which was located in a rival gang's neighborhood. Anderson spotted a man at the car wash across the street that he believed owed him money. He confronted the man, things quickly escalated, and a gunfight erupted. 3 out of the 4 men involved were killed in the altercation, including Orlando Anderson, who was 23 years old. The news of Anderson's death created a divide in public opinion, with some labeling his shooting as karma, and others saying it was the common way of the streets and a result of gang life. Later it was released that the lawsuit Anderson filed against the Shakur estate was settled just hours before his death and would have netted him $78,000. After Orlando Anderson's death, things calmed down in Compton, and because Anderson was never officially arrested for Tupac's murder, his involvement in the shooting slowly faded, and numerous conspiracy theories began to circulate. Police continued to investigate and search for evidence that would either confirm Anderson's involvement or implicate someone else, but eventually, Tupac's murder case went cold. That was until 2009, when Orlando Anderson's uncle, Keefe D, found himself in trouble with the police, facing life in prison for drug charges. Keefe D made a deal with detectives under immunity to finally reveal the details of Tupac's murder. In a taped confession, Keefe D admitted to being in the car the night Tupac was killed, and that his nephew Orlando Anderson was indeed the man who fired the shots. In the years since Keefe D's confession tapes, some conspiracy theorists have questioned the validity of his story. But Keefe D stands by his statements, which have helped many Tupac fans make peace with the fact that the questions surrounding the rapper's death can finally be laid to rest. Orlando Anderson himself was laid to rest on June 6, 1998, next to his grandmother, who was buried on the same day. Many will remember Anderson as a young OG from Compton, California, who was a friend, a brother, a father, and a Southside Crip who was taken too soon by street violence. Yet others will simply remember him as the man who killed Tupac Shakur. But whichever way you see it, Orlando Anderson will always be a notable face in California's history.